Dear learners, welcome back to the educational channel Learn and Educate, where we were studying about the Income Tax Act 1961. In this video, we would be studying about the transfer as per Section 2, Clause 47 of the Income Tax Act 1961, wherein the transfer in respect to the capital asset includes the sale of the asset, the capital asset. Transfer includes the exchange of the asset. Transfer includes the relinquishment of the asset. Transfer includes the extinction of any right. The extinction, the right which was there of the asset has been extinguished. The compulsory acquisition of the asset under any law. Here, under any law, the asset has been compulsorily acquired. Where the fourth provision deals with about the conversion or the treatment of the asset when the asset is been converted by the owner into stock in trade of any business which is carried on by the assessee, or where the asset has been treated as a stock in trade for a business which is carried on by him, then such conversion or the treatment which is with respect to the capital asset into stock in trade would be under the definition of transfer. That is, transfer includes the conversion of the capital asset into stock in trade of any business. Transfer includes the treatment of the stock in trade into the capital asset into stock in trade of any business. Therefore, the conversion of capital asset into stock in trade is a transfer of the capital asset, and the treatment of capital asset as a stock in trade is a transfer of a capital asset. The maturity or redemption of a zero coupon bond. The bond wherein it is matured or the redemption value of the zero coupon bond is a transfer of a asset, transfer of a capital asset. The transactions, any transaction which involves allow the possession of any immovable property, wherein the immovable property is to be taken or retained in part for the purpose of a contract, which is referred to in the nature of Section 53A of the Transfer of Property Act 1882, wherein the Transfer of Property Act 1882, under which the Section 53A, it protects it is with respect to the performance of the contract with respect to transfer of an immovable property, wherein the property has been transferred, wherein the transferee, the immovable property is in possession, he has made expenses with respect to the asset, and in the absence of an effective documents, the transferee is protected by Section 53A of the Transfer of Property Act 1882. And the transactions which whereby which involve the becoming of a member, any transactions wherein which has affected the transferring or gives them the enjoyment of any aim of a property with respect to what, with respect to the becoming a member of any cooperative society, becoming a member of any company after acquiring shares, becoming a member of any association of persons, or becoming a member any transaction which by any way of agreement or any arrangement which affects, which give the transfers, which give the enjoyment of any immovable property would be under the definition of the transfer, wherein the immovable property, immovable property means any land, any building, any part of any building, any part of any land, and includes any land or any building wherein together with the machinery, the building together with the plant, furniture, and the fittings, and any other things, machinery, plant, which are also the part of a building, wherein the land, building, or part of any building, part of any land, part of any machinery, have there any rights on it has been transferred, and any right with respect to that land or any building or part of a building which has been constructed which is acquired or arise from any transaction, and by way of becoming a member of any corporate society or company or association persons, by way of acquiring the shares in a cooperative society, acquiring shares in a company, acquiring shares in any association of persons, or by any agreement which are not being transferred, which are not being a transaction, which is not a transaction of a sale and this transaction is not a this arrangement is not a transaction of sale, of exchange, of lease of such a land, of such building, of such a property, of such a building or any part of building, wherein the transfer means transfer with respect to the capital asset, transfer of the assets, which gives the right in relation to the transfer, disposing of the property, wherein the transfer includes, has been also included as a disposing of any asset or disposing any interest of the asset, dividing, making parts of the assets or any interest on it, creating any interest in any manner, which directly or indirectly that interest, absolutely or conditionally, voluntarily or involuntarily, by way of an agreement which is entered into India or outside India, wherein such transfer of right has been characterized as been affected or dependent upon the flowing from the transfer of a share or share of a company which is registered or incorporated outside India. Therefore, the transfer of a capital asset is an inclusive definition which includes the sale of the asset, the relinquishment of the asset, the exchange of the asset, the extinguishment of any right on that capital asset, the compulsory acquisition under any law wherein the owner has been the conversion or the treatment of a capital asset into stock in trade because of the business carried on by that person, the maturity or redemption of a zero coupon bonds, and for the part performance of the contract, the past performance of the contract. Sometimes the position of an immovable property is given in consideration of the part performance of the contract. That will also be under the definition of a transfer, and they transfer a certain type of transaction which gives them enjoyment of a property, enjoyment of a right immovable property because of acquiring the membership of a cooperative society or company or association of persons, or by way of acquiring the shares in a cooperative society, by way of acquiring shares in a company, or by way of acquiring shares in an association of persons, which give them a right for the purpose of enjoyment of the immovable property, wherein the redemption, the redemption of a zero coupon bonds, which is also a transfer, wherein the treatment by the owner, treatment by the person of the assets, treatment of a capital asset into stock in trade, or the conversion of the capital asset into stock in trade will also be under the definition of transfer.